Well, if you guessed flying serpent eats Sue that turned into a tree only to morph into an electrical flying bioweapon, you won this week's Raised by Wolves bingo.
Bye, bitch.
As always, we're going to get right into the video with new theories and hidden details, and make sure to like and subscribe with that bell on because next week we have the finale and you'll want to be around when my big video on that drops. The first shot of the episode is an aerial view of Paul arriving back at camp, juxtaposed with the last shot of the episode, a similar aerial shot, but that of Campion. This juxtaposition between quote-unquote brothers is something that will become a lot more apparent throughout the episode, especially between Campion and the Serpent, who I believe share the same father. We'll get into that in a bit. Paul's brought with him containers filled with that weird brain-looking fruit produced by the tree Sue turned into last episode, and yes, that sentence sounds very weird if you've never seen the show. At this point, it can be assumed that Paul, like Marcus, knows the tree is his mother, since later in the episode he'll talk about the heartbeat slowing. This may explain part of his anxiety giving out the fruit. He's also not sure what will happen to non-believers who eat it. Will it kill them? I'm also keeping track of who among our main characters has eaten the fruit, and so far it's just Marcus, Paul, and Vita. We'll see Campion choose not to eat it, and I can't help but think they'd never show us this unless it plays some important role in the season finale. Remember, the eating of the fruit relates back to the pentagonal prophecy.
And all who eat from it will be made pure, and there they will build a city of peace, and the prophet will be made its king.
It's Marcus's hope that eating this fruit will make the non-believers see the light and overthrow Mother, and that Saul, or at least the voice that's been guiding him, will give Sue back to them. It's basically been confirmed on the Raised by Wolves podcast by VFX supervisor Ray McIntyre that this voice is the being at the center of the planet.
And the being in the center of the planet can't transmit or talk to humans. That's why they like living in the tropical zone, because it's warmer and the being can't affect them as much in the tropical zone, nor can it affect the serpent as much in the tropical zone.
Because this electromagnetic barrier around the tropical zone prevents the being from using its voice to manipulate the people, it has to find another way. And this other way is brought about through the creation of the tree, whose roots establish a direct connection from the being to the tropical zone. Think of it like, oh, my Wi-Fi doesn't work because the concrete walls in this building, so I guess I'll have to directly hook up the internet with an Ethernet cable.
And now once the serpent has swallowed that tree, it's gotten the power from the being in the center of the planet, from the roots to go all the way down into the core, basically, and it sucks up the power from there.
This suggests that the serpent is likely being led by the same voice that was guiding Marcus in season 1. And if we are to take grandmother's words as truth, this thing will want to destroy the planet. One of the things I found interesting here is that Marcus cries while watching the settlers eat the fruit. They are essentially eating part of his lover, Sue, and there's probably some crisis of faith mixed in here as well, as we'll get to in a bit. Meanwhile, by the beautiful acid shores of Kepler 22b, the search for Tempest Baby continues. It was taken by this sea creature last episode. Hunter has turned a drone into a submersible which they'll cover in the acid-proof skin of a dead male creature to prevent it from breaking down in the acid waters. Further inland, Mother finds the tree, sensing that it is indeed Sue.
Why did you listen to it?
The submersible plan is short-lived, however, when Father loses contact with it, tasking Campion to retrieve it by the shore. However, someone else has gotten to it first, the homicidal android Vril, whose face has been covered in repair plastic. Now, it's likely that Vril's capture here would result in her being shut down, but she says she knows where Tempest Baby is. Should we trust androids like Campion does, or are they not to be trusted like Holly believes? Hunter has brought with him the android he was working on last episode. I'm not really sure of its purpose. It doesn't really offer much plot-wise, and having it around only increases the VFX budget, so I'm keeping my eye on this. And in one of the biggest character shifts of the entire series, Marcus questions his faith when it looks like Sue's heartbeat is fading and that she will die.
Maybe so. He doesn't care about us at all.
It is Marcus's love for Sue that has made him question his faith. Love, like the intro credit lyric says, pulls us from the sky and from the ground. It has the ability to push us in different directions, like it has pulled Marcus from believer to non-believer. Back at the camp, the serpent has gone berserk, bashing its face into the containment chamber and escaping captivity. We saw the serpent react erratically last episode when Sue and Paul tried to open the seed box. It wants that fruit. Something is compelling it toward it and the tree. Over the comm, Marcus and Paul hear Sue's voice calling out, "Burn me." It wants to die, likely to prevent the serpent from eating its fruit, but it's too late. The serpent completely devours the tree, and you can see here this necrotizes it, turning it into a dangerous bioweapon similar to how Mother turns into a necromancer when she puts in her eyes. And speaking of Mother in her necromancer form, she turns up to confront her child. Mother begins her scream attack, but stops mid-scream. Her caregiving program does not allow her to harm her child, and this gives the serpent enough time to use its own attack and knock Mother unconscious. Back at the shore, Hunter chastises Father for being a deadbeat dad, saying he spent more time on his ancient android than he has protecting the kids. He has a point here, but this kinda came out of left field for me considering the bonding they went through in the Thunderdome episode, but hey, maybe that's just me. In order for Mother to take on the serpent, she'll need to be reprogrammed. Marcus tried to do this back in episode 107, but failed.
Any attempt to reprogram me will result in failure.
If she's going to be reprogrammed, perhaps the only being that can do so is the ancient android known as Grandmother. Vril attempts to escape, but in the chase, Father is knocked out by the serpent. It's this necromancer-type scream that Vril says has fried her circuits and will eventually make her shut down for good. It appears that the snake is targeting Campion, attracted to his scent. The snake has shown jealousy towards him in the past while in the presence of Mother. That's because the snake knows they are related, they are brothers. Campion is the son of Mother, and although not confirmed, either is the clone of or son of Mother's programmer, Campion Sturgis. Similarly, the serpent is also the child of Mother and was conceived after Mother made love to digital Campion Sturgis in season 1. If Campion and the serpent are brothers of sorts, this also relates to the ancient Roman myth of Romulus and Remus. We've seen this referenced with Romulus's tooth. It tells the story of Remus, who is killed by his brother Romulus, who would go on to found the city of Rome, becoming its first king. It sounds a lot like the Pentagonal Prophecy, which references the founding of a city and a prophet being made its king. In the ancient myth, Romulus and Remus were raised by a she-wolf, and now it's starting to make more sense why this show is called Raised by Wolves. Inside the malfunctioned tank, we see the disintegrated remains of its victims, so it appears the serpent possesses the same necromancer scream like Mother's. It's here we also get some vital information from Vril that her mother, Decima, profited off weapons that were destroying the Earth's atmosphere. Decima had her real daughter's diaries uploaded to Vril so that the android could better mimic her daughter, and the writings she puts down here are from those diaries. From what we know, the real Vril hated her mother and even attempted suicide at one point. I'm thinking that if the real Vril hated her mother so much, she was likely an atheist to spite her, and that these diaries may contain information she stole from her mother regarding those, quote, weapons she profited off. Could whatever be written here help in the fight against the serpent or Grandmother? And is this writing similar to what was found on Grandmother's veil? Some weird shit has been happening to Father. He hears this ringing in his ear which he thinks are his sensors malfunctioning, but it leads them to Tempest's baby in another cave. How can he hear this, and why it didn't initially sound like a baby is never explained. I'm still thinking there's some connection between him and Grandmother going on here. We did see how his eyes went all weird when he first made contact with the fully completed Grandmother a few episodes ago. So the creature is totally breastfeeding Tempest's baby, and Father is like, "Kill it! Kill it!" And this is something I personally thought wasn't developed properly, but Tempest going from "I don't want the baby" to "I need the baby" to "I don't want it again." I mean, Hunter does say she's not thinking straight, but I felt this was a bit contrived. Hunter will end up killing the creature and taking the baby back, something which is against the wishes of Tempest. This is likely all a setup to keep Hunter from leaving the encampment and closer entwine him with Tempest, which the show has been building up over the season. After 7 episodes, we finally get some answers from Grandmother, but in true Raised by Wolves fashion, it also poses new ones. She was created by ancient humans known as the Technocrats, who fought against a group called the Believers. Sounds a lot like the war between the Mithraic and atheists. This is further proof that what we're watching is a never-ending cycle of destruction, rebirth, and destruction. Something Campion Sturgis tells Mother in episode 107.
No matter how hard you work to keep them safe, Mother, in the end, they will always destroy themselves over and over and over again.
It's ironic then that Mother says this earlier.
We're not here to repeat
history.
Maybe they are. Grandmother refers to herself as a shepherd of humanity, and what do shepherds protect their flock from? Wolves. I don't know about you guys, but I'm not entirely sure Grandmother is A, telling the truth, or B, is one of the good guys. She says her prime directive was to ensure for humanity everlasting life, and that word, everlasting, I heard all the time growing up in church, especially in reference to life beyond death. So I just found it a very interesting word choice here. What I actually found to be the most interesting aspect of this conversation was Grandmother's response to why the serpent and being want to destroy the planet. This question was something the ancient humans tried to understand for centuries, but according to Grandmother, the
limits of their own rationality made it impossible.
What does that mean? Why would the serpent and being seek to destroy itself? It doesn't make sense. It's not rational. The answer, I believe, lies in something Truss said to Mother shortly before he was taken offline. He says that serving humanity requires three things: sacrifice, shared purpose, and it's actually Mother here who finishes his line,
Seeing beyond the limits of your own existence.
Because the ancient humans could not see beyond the limits of their own existence, they could never understand why something would seek to destroy itself. For me, one of the reasons something might sacrifice themselves is out of love, like a parent sacrificing themselves for a child. What if the planet needs to die in order for life to restore itself anew? What if the planet needs to do this for the greater good? Just like how Truss did everything that he did for the greater good. Maybe this is all part of the never-ending cycle that was hinted at in the cave back in season 1. And remember, there's a theory out there that the core and the being are two iterations of the same thing. There's a lot more to this, and I know I haven't articulated this idea the best I can, but when we find out why the being wants to destroy the planet, I think it'll put a lot of the other mysteries surrounding the show into perspective. Or if Grandmother was lying about this whole thing, then this whole theory is kaput. Rather than reprogramming Mother, Grandmother suggests they transplant her veil onto Mother's body so that it may nullify her caregiving ability. If this veil nullifies something in the individual who wears it, what is it nullifying in Grandmother? I'm getting bad vibes about this whole idea and what it could mean for Mother and the rest of the humans on Kepler 22b. There is one saving grace in this whole conversation though, the idea that the serpent is focused more on his jealousy with Campion than destroying the planet. Grandmother seems a bit concerned when she finds out that the serpent has developed emotions, and that emotions seem to be overriding its prime directive of destroying the planet. This opens up so many possibilities for beings we once thought were set in their ways. Just like Marcus was set in his ways, he too has changed. It begs many more questions as to what's to come, and I hope you'll join me next week as we delve into the season finale. Thanks for watching everyone, be sure to like and subscribe, and for more bad takes you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at ThinkStoryYT. Until next time, remember,
Kill it! Kill it!